Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Aging Games podcast. I have a very good friend here today, and we've been trying to make this interview happen for a while. Phil Escott is here, and he'll be talking to us about his story, his battle with arthritis, and what he went through, how we overcame, and he's going to have some amazing tips for you guys. Phil, welcome to my podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Lynn, honestly, before we started recording, I could have chatted to you for ages. Such a good friend and so supportive over the years. Love you loads. And thank God, at last, we've got one of us on the other one's podcast.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
one
We talk-
day, one day I'll get you on mine.
Yeah, I know. I owe you one. I definitely owe you one. Phil, so you guys just finished the carnivore retreat. This was the third one, right? How did
Yes,
everything go?
it was amazing. I mean, I think, all of this stuff online where we follow these carnivore influencers and chat between ourselves in Facebook groups, but there's nothing like being in each other's company.
Yeah.
Give each other hugs and lots of other ancestral stuff. And it's not all about meat, is it?
Yeah.
It's about that personal contact. And it was just, yeah, it was absolutely lovely. And I've got to say here, it's thanks to you because you arranged the first one in 2019. So
It was a
you
long
opened the
time ago.
gate for
So much
me.
has happened since. We've had the pandemic and everything else since.
Oh, we're allowed to use that word, are we? Excellent.
Yeah, you can use whatever word you want on my podcast, my friend, anything you
Cool, cool.
want. So I'm glad that all went well for you guys. Now, about arthritis, tell us a little bit about your story.
Right. Well, I come from a sort of unusual background in that I was fooled into the whole vegetarian thing by the spiritual side of things,
Yeah.
being wanting to be a bit of a yogi from the early 80s, really, and immediately seeing a downturn in my health, but not connecting the dots. Even writing books on vegetarianism and Ayurveda and stuff like that. And I didn't realize that if you look in the old texts of Ayurveda, it says that meat is the most nourishing thing for the human body. It's like amrit, it's like nectar. And people don't notice that. And I was fooled for a long time until 2010, when all hell broke loose and every joint in my body pretty much blew up. And I was in horrific pain. And I went down the vegan path because I thought, okay, you've got to be even more pure. You've got to be even more vegetarian than vegetarian. So I've got to go vegan. Then you've got to go raw vegan. Then all the juicing and the fruitarianism. And that left me emaciated and still in pain in my joints, but with kidney stones from all the oxalates from the spinach smoothies. So, it was a hard
For
lesson.
those who might not know, what are oxalates?
Oh, oxalates are probably one of the nastiest plant toxins, and they're in a lot of the superfoods that we're told are superfoods anyway. And so microscopically, they're like little shards of glass in many organs of the body, in the joints, everything. They stick in there. It's very high in leafy greens. And so we're told that there's nothing healthier than greens, aren't we? And, so many people get kidney stones after that because as the body dumps oxalates, it can calcify in the kidneys. And then you get quite possibly the worst pain you can possibly imagine. It's horrific. And so, yeah, those are the basically oxalates.
Yeah.
It takes sometimes decades to get rid of them. Like I had another episode in 2008, no, sorry, 2018, and then another one in 2022, where I had Sally Norton on my podcast, who did the Toxic
Yeah.
Superfoods book. And I said, how on earth have I still got a kidney stone? And she said, look, it can take decades to get rid of these things. So anyone listening now, first lesson, please, first tip, stop it with the healthy greens. They're very, very, very toxic. So
Especially the juices, right? The juices are even worse than eating
yeah,
them.
absolutely, because you can take in far more. I mean, who's going to eat a bag of spinach munching through it? But
Yeah.
if you combine it with a load of avocados and coconut milk and honey and things like that, you can make it actually taste quite nice and get actually quite close to the lethal dose every day because
Lethal dose.
there is a lethal dose of oxalates, and yet we're told that these are superfoods. So yeah, in 2010 that all hit, and I think 2012 I started to realize that humans have eaten meat since the dawn of time, The tribes that eat like that now, they have none of those issues. And so I sort of eased into a ketogenic diet, but I didn't tweak the vegetable thing until 2015 when I went carnivore. And then things got an awful lot better. I just felt I didn't even, there wasn't so much information around then about it, was there? But I think that what happened with me was that I just realized that on the days where I didn't bother to cook any vegetables, any healthy vegetables to go with my meat, I felt a load better. So I just dropped them out. And I
Yeah.
thought, I'm going to be deficient in something or other, but absolutely not.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2015 until now, completely carnivore, no problems apart from a 2022 blip that we might come to, which was kind of interesting. But that's really what happened
How
to me.
severe were your symptoms with arthritis?
They were suicidal. I mean, real
Suicide.
suicidal pain, just sitting there on the sofa, not being able to move, joints blown up massively, incredible pain, absolutely incredible pain, and crutches to get around. Yeah, it was horrific, absolutely horrific, very, very severe. So some people say, oh, you were misdiagnosed, it just burned itself out. No, I mean, I don't care what I was diagnosed with. It was an autoimmune condition that comes from leaky gut, and that was how bad it left me. And it was kind of counterintuitive because for so many years we're taught that plant foods are the best part of our diet, that kind of thing. But when you cut them out, allow the gut to heal, and then allow the inflammation to die down, because I often compare it to a ship or a ferry. If you turn off the engines, it doesn't stop immediately, does it? It kind of rolls on. So you will have certain symptoms after you go carnivore, quite often, because the body is inflaming as it should do to get rid of the toxins in the joints or in the thyroid or wherever you've got your autoimmunity. But in time, that will die down. And then when it does, then the body's cleared itself of toxins. And I think that's a beautiful thing for people to understand because after decades of abuse with the horrendous things we've eaten, the stresses we've had, all sorts of things on all levels, you can't fix yourself in a week. People say, hey, I've been carnivore for a week and I've still got some
Yeah.
symptoms. I'm kind of like, hey, it's not the fault of the meat. It isn't. Sometimes you also get a Herxheimer effect,
Yeah.
right? Things can get worse before they get better. But if you have confidence, I have a course out there called Autoimmunity, the Subtraction Method,
That's
about
a
taking.
great course. I have it.
Oh, sweet. And you did a testimonial for it as well, and it's
Yeah.
still on there. I've kept that.
Mm.
Beautiful. But it's about taking away everything that's causing the issue. I have this thing that I don't know whether I made it up or somebody did, but there's this lovely saying that if you're sitting on a pin and you've got some pain, don't take an aspirin to get rid of the pain. Get off the fucking pin, right?
Exactly.
So, you take away the things that are causing the pain
Yeah.
and these things calm down. But it's all about confidence. And in that course, the first part of it is all about confidence and gaining confidence because there are so many things that we've been told about diet that are absolute nonsense. And so if you get the confidence and the links that I put up in there, to show people just to look maybe at anthropology instead of diet gurus
Hmm.
and to get the confidence that, our ancestors and the tribes who now eat like that,
Hmm.
they don't have any of our issues. So have patience, stay on it, and it will reverse. But you need confidence because if something gets slightly worse before it gets better, often people freak out.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and then they turn back. But yeah, that's the thing. It's if people are listening to this and think it's crazy to eat, it's so inflammatory, it's this and it's that, and it causes heart disease and it causes
Yeah.
cancer. It doesn't. It doesn't. And people say to me, you're so dogmatic, you're so strict. No, it's only because I deal with people who have really serious autoimmunity.
Yeah.
If you want to eat seasonally and locally, if you do that and include some seasonal fruits and nuts and berries and stuff, you're never going to get that sick.
Hmm.
But if you're already that sick, you need to heal for a while before you can get back to that. But you can if you want.
Hmm.
No dogmatism here.
When did you realize it was the food, Phil? What made you realize that?
When I fasted,
Hmm.
because then if you're not putting anything in and the inflammation dies down in a day or two, then you find that it's got to be something to do with the diet,
Yeah.
which your rheumatologist will tell you it doesn't happen. Nobody ever cured themselves with diet because they see people who maybe gave up bread for a week and the arthritis didn't get better.
Yeah.
And so that doesn't really work. So when you fast, then there's no symptoms after a couple of days. But I wish back in the day I'd realized that water fasting was perhaps not as effective as dry fasting because I lost a lot of muscle.
Hmm.
I stayed out of pain for several days, and sometimes I did longer fasts, like I think 11 days was the longest, but I lost a load of muscle and ended up pretty emaciated.
Hmm.
So now I realize that dry fasting, no food, no water, it preserves muscle mass and it's much quicker in
Yeah.
its effect.
Yeah.
One day is
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, but if you eat right, I can hear our mutual friend Sophia Clements sitting on my shoulder now going, fasting is useless, never do fasting. Well,
Uh-huh.
if you figure it out, if you figure out that beef, lamb, salt and water, very fatty, few organ meats, if you figure that out, you don't need fasting. But if
Hmm.
anybody can't go that far, just to do some fasting and then their symptoms go, then they'll go, right, my rheumatologist has been lying to me. It is
Yeah.
about diet. So it's a
Yeah.
great answer for that. But yeah, I think that was it for me. It was fasting. But the thing is, in the middle of those fasts, I ended up really frightened of eating because I knew that when I ate anything, it would come back because I was eating the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
So it's great maybe to kick it off with a fast or a dry fast, but get onto that fatty beef, lamb, salt and water, nothing else, and as soon as you can. And honestly, your symptoms will die down really quickly.
And how long would you recommend the dry fast for? Do you only do it for a day or a couple of days? Or would you recommend it to someone who hasn't fasted yet? Is it something they should transition into?
I think it's fine to do it. We're taught, aren't we, that you die after 3 days with no
Yeah.
water, which is hilarious. I mean, maybe if you're walking around in the desert, sweating,
Yeah.
dehydrated, maybe, I don't know. But 3 days is nothing, really. There's a story here that just before our first carnival conference in Spain in 2019, because of the damage in the knee, you can get a Baker's cyst, which I know that you're familiar with as well.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I had one that burst and it burst down the calf and it was full of synovial fluid. And I thought, my God, I've got to go to Spain. I can hardly walk. My knee bends better than it usually does, but my calf is agony.
Yeah.
So I went into the hospital, which I hardly ever do. And I said, right, maybe you can give me a knee wash. Maybe, I've wanted to do this for a while. I packed a bag. Oh, hello.
Luna's a little bit needy.
So I packed this bag and I said to Detta, my missus, um, great, they're going to have to keep me in. Anyway, I went in there and they said, yeah, it's a burst Baker's cyst, go home. But that fluid is going to take maybe weeks, maybe even months to reabsorb.
Yeah.
And if you get numbness in your foot, anything like that, come back. We might have to drain it. So I thought, God, Lynn's organised this carnivore thing, I can't wait that long. So I did a 4 or 5 day dry fast, I think, because it mops up any unnecessary fluid in the body.
Yeah.
And I went back to the hospital a week later, no fluid in the calf, everything sorted. And they said, how on earth did you do that? I've never seen that before. And I said, oh, I did a dry fast for 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
I said, don't you die after 3 days? No, here I am. So I think for a specific thing like that, it's great. But I do agree with Sophia that if you are fully carnivore, very high fat, you probably don't need it. But for
Hmm.
somebody who needs convincing, it can be a good gateway into it. Yeah.
Would you recommend that people do this under like medical supervision, or is it something they can just do on their own?
Nah. You go to the medical people, they'll tell you you'll die.
Yeah, that is
It's
true.
dangerous.
That is
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
You know, I've
yeah.
heard of a lady who did like a 13-day dry fast and
Yeah.
her thyroid grew back.
Oh, amazing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
That can happen.
I've heard incredible stories
Yeah.
about that. I mean, when you go that long, it's not so much that you need supervision, but you have to watch out sometimes for the electrolyte
Yeah,
balance.
that's the most important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if
And
there are some guidelines, if your heart rate, your resting heart rate goes up over 120, back out, take some electrolytes, take some
yeah,
water, take some salt.
yeah,
But if you know the signs, then it's fine. It's
yeah.
okay. Just be sensible and don't push it if your heart's racing or
Yeah,
palpitation.
exactly. Listen to your
Uh,
body, and there are doctors out there. There's a Russian doctor who does like prolonged dry fasts in Russia, and I think in Serbia, in some different countries, and he does them several times over the year, and he's curing like the incurable diseases all the time just with dry fasting. So there are also these options for supervised dry fasting, which I think is really cool.
yeah, it's Filanov, isn't it? I think is
Yes, I think something
I,
like that. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
You've
yeah.
heard of him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have
he's
this sort of magical time of 11 days dry
yeah,
fast
11 days.
where you
Correct.
go
Yeah.
through these two acidotic crises or
Yeah.
something. You
Yeah.
know,
So I guess you
for
don't die without water after 3 days and you don't die without food after seven. When I did my first water fast, long, prolonged water fast of 10 days, my mom was always telling me, but you die after 7 days, you die, you know? And I'm like, well, here I am. It's just so crazy
no.
what people are
Did you
led to believe.
did you hear about that guy who did like over a year
Yeah.
fasting?
Yeah. The really obese
Yeah,
guy,
really
right?
obese guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. If you've got
And the
the
truth is, the
reserve.
fatter you are, the longer you can fast. I mean, you have all these reserves that the body's going to use up. The body's very, very intelligent.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's our best doctor, but we're always told, don't rely on that. You
Yeah.
need to listen to your doctor or whatever he's Googling for 5 minutes during the
Yeah.
appointment. And no, no, no.
But
I've
you're,
been
sorry,
yeah,
go on.
I've been in this body for many decades. I think I know it better than you, mate.
That is true. That is very accurate. And a good reminder also for others because we just, seem to blindly trust these doctors, thinking they know better than we do. And we know that's not the case. With your arthritis, Phil, did you go the allopathic route? Did you go see doctors, professionals, and did you take any medication?
Well, I took something called sulfasalazine for about a month. It turned my fingers yellow and gave me a psychotic experience, which was kind of
Oh,
pretty
wow.
much like a bad trip, harking back to my old mushroom days
Oh,
in
my God.
acid days in
I
the
was going to
early
say just a
80s.
normal day for you, Phil.
Pretty much. Well, I actually, that's something we might come on to. I haven't taken any of that for 43 years, but now I'm
Wow.
trying a bit of microdosing. It's very interesting. It is.
Oh, what are you microdosing?
Psilocybin. Yeah.
And how's it going?
Well, I've done a couple of sort of macro doses as well recently because I'm in
Yeah.
a band and I play at these festivals,
Yeah.
these sort of freedom festivals.
hmm
And I've done a few sort of macro ones sitting around the fire pits after the gigs and had some extraordinary experiences, really. But
Wow.
microdosing is amazing. I think I put a little video up on my YouTube channel recently where I was called up to play with a band that I'd never played with before. And I
hmm
said yes without knowing how much I'd have to learn. And they sent me 27 songs to learn in 2 days
Wow.
with no rehearsal. And I just had to turn up at the gig. And I did a little bit of microdosing and I nailed it. I got through all 27 songs. It kind of wakes your brain up beautifully.
Wow.
It's
Oh, I
amazing.
need that when I'm trying to learn my lines.
Yeah,
Seriously, that
yeah,
sounds
yeah,
amazing. So it
yeah.
opens up like a part of your brain.
Yeah, it just I'm sort of hesitant to mention the company, but if you look on my YouTube channel or my podcast, the Red Pill
hmm
Sangha podcast, there's a recent one with Adam Shell, the
hmm
CEO of this company, and he's amazing. He's absolutely lovely. You should get him on.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. That sounds
He's
amazing.
so interesting, such a lovely guy. Woken up about everything. Amazing life story as well. But yeah, it was his stuff that he sent over, and just a little tickle of it, and it wakes your brain up without having to sit there behind the drums seeing sort of entities from other dimensions, which isn't too conducive to learning 27 songs. But
Wow.
just that microdosing, yeah, it's fantastic. I
That's
never
very
thought I'd
cool.
do
I
it
just
again.
got this one. This is something similar. It's Bobinsana. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
No, I
Bobinsana.
haven't.
And it's
No.
also you microdose this. I ordered this on Etsy, but I have no feedback yet. I have to try it. It just came a couple of days ago. But something along those lines. So it's very interesting. For sure, I'll check out the interview as well. And Phil, so when you, okay, you didn't answer the question about the allopathic allopathic
Oh, yes,
medicines.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So you were taking this medication that made you trip out.
Yeah, it was awful stuff. It was
Yeah.
really horrible, and it was obviously it wasn't going to do any good.
Yeah.
And so I swapped rheumatologists, thinking they might be different.
Yeah.
And I told him I was going to go down the natural route. He was very cool to start with, but then he ended up incredibly angry. And if you don't take their drugs, they end up very, very furious with you. Eventually, an appointment came up where I hadn't booked it, but they check up on you. And I thought, oh, go up. I'll go along to show off how well I'm doing because everybody else in his waiting room was, you know, joints bandaged up, eating Kit Kats and chocolate and sandwiches out of their handbags and in a terrible state and on crutches. And I thought he's going to be really interested in this.
Yeah.
So I went in there and I said, check it out. I've reversed it. And he said, no, if you don't take this methotrexate, it's going to get in your heart and lungs and the process is going on and then you're going to get a malignancy. And he got so angry that I wouldn't take it when I said that, arthritis isn't caused by a deficiency in methotrexate. And he got so angry, he started frothing at the corner of the mouth.
No.
That angry. And I said to him, look, do you understand that frothing at the corner of the mouth can be a sign of heart disease? And I turned around and walked out. And, and I've never been back to a rheumatologist since.
Or rabies. Could have been rabies too.
Rabies, exactly, exactly.
Oh
Oh,
my
they
God.
they've never seen anyone healed. They've never, they give these awful drugs out that are hand-me-down cancer drugs.
Yeah.
They've never seen anybody actually reverse it. Sometimes it might stop the symptoms a little bit, but generally it doesn't. For many years, I've been avoiding the Heal Rheumatoid Arthritis Naturally support groups on Facebook
Yeah.
because I got thrown out of most of them for suggesting you could actually reverse it naturally. But now somebody tagged me in one with 80,000 people
Yeah.
and they are suffering so badly. All they're doing is asking about, side effects from methotrexate and my liver's blown up and they're posting pictures of their swollen joints and all of this stuff. And it's almost irresistible sometimes to come up underneath and say, listen, guys, just go carnivore, please look into it. Don't go into these groups, go into carnivore groups, see how many people are reversing this. But they don't. And then you get attacked and you get told that you're a quack and spreading dangerous misinformation. And your heart goes out to them so much, but there's nothing you can do. I've had to shut that group down again, because well, get out of it. It's not
Yeah.
up to me to shut it down.
Yeah.
But this is why I think 6 years ago I made a video about how, Facebook arthritis groups stop your healing and
Yeah.
started my own. But you just your heart goes out to these people so much because they're so brainwashed by these people in these white coats, so fear-mongered that it's irreversible. You'll have this for the rest of your life. I went into the rheumatologist and I got told that. When I went in, they said, well, this is going to be with you for life and you're going to have to take this medication for life. And it might shorten your life and we'll keep having to check your liver results. I mean, how do you think people feel when they come out of an appointment like that? Totally downhearted,
Yeah.
freaked out. That's going to make it worse.
Of
It's
course. It's like a
it's like
death sentence.
yeah, it's like the people who go and they get, they say, well, in 3 months you're going to die from this cancer, and in 3 weeks they're dead from fear.
Yeah.
But when they come to me, well, the first thing I say really is, look, okay, you've eaten a load of crap, you fucked up a bit, but I tell you what, you're going to reverse this and you're going to come out healed with no medications and you're going to have the knowledge to keep your children and grandchildren healthy for life and it's going to be amazing. You're going to come out, this is going to be the best journey of your life. Now what's the difference of the feeling, when people go into an appointment? And when I see those groups I think, please, and just, sometimes people like me can hardly pay the bills because we get these beautiful stories of people who we do connect with. But these rheumatologists, they've got smart cars and decent houses, and I think they're killing people. And I'm pretty chilled most of the time, I am.
Yeah.
But sometimes that gets to me thinking, these people, if people like me who are doing this, it's not just me, there are many people in the carnivore community who could
Yeah.
advise on this. But I think I have a unique take having been through it myself. But, if you have arthritis, please come to me, get my course, whatever. you know, because you can get out of it. I know the desperation you're in because of all the autoimmune conditions, I think it's the most agonizing. And when I do get people to come along and do it, they're more strict. People with MS, it's not quite so painful, and so and it's not so immediate when you make a mistake.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
with arthritis, you make a mistake, it's going to hurt like hell the next day.
Yeah.
So that is actually one of the upsides of it. So you can tell what's going on. But get on it, get your confidence, and please, if anybody's watching this with arthritis, please, there is a way out, and it's not that difficult. It really isn't. You've just got to get rid of the conditioning that you've got, and there's a much better life on the other side because you know that you don't need to go to these people. If you break a bone, go to them. If
Yeah.
if you've got something chronic,
Oh,
run away, run away.
yeah. I agree with you. Phil, when did you find out about the carnivore diet? Like, how did you learn about it?
Well, like I said, I kind of slid into it by accident of just feeling better
Hmm.
like that. But then when you actually look at anthropology and you see what the tribes actually eat, and it's kind of 90 to 100% carnivore, depending on latitude and season.
Yeah.
And they have none of these issues. My lovely friend Mary Ruddick, please,
Yeah.
everybody have a listen to her interviews and podcasts on, because she goes around staying with the most remote tribes and blows up so many myths about what they actually eat. And I think, I think when I look back, I was carnivore probably longer than most of the people like Sean Baker and the people who are bringing out that knowledge now.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake, or I don't think it's a mistake, but just really speaking out about the pandemic early on in 2020. So my channel's horribly shadow banned, but I got in terrible trouble for that.
Yeah.
But look at the bigger channels of Anthony Chafee, great friend of ours as well, lovely,
Amazing.
lovely guy,
Yeah.
and Ken Berry and Sean Baker and these people, and so they're bringing out that kind of knowledge now, and it's coming out more. It's pretty easy to find the knowledge. When back in the day, I think there was just like a couple of Facebook groups and Reddit groups of people who'd been doing that for decades, really, and
Hmm.
they were absolutely fine. But now the information's easy to find, and
Yeah.
people say this is all useless anecdotes,
Hmm.
and it's not. They far outnumber the cohorts of the studies that are out there, the bias studies that say that meat is harmful. Look at those anecdotes. As Sean Baker says, the plural of anecdotes is data.
Yeah.
So, we've
Yeah.
got all of those tens, probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, healing on a carnivore diet now, and all of our history as humans. Whatever we've been told, however we came here and were we seeded by the Anunnaki? I mean, who knows? Where did we come from?
I know.
I
What
know.
do you say to people who say, but oh yeah, but our ancestors used to die at 30?
Well, there's a few things about that. I mean, if you listen to Mary's interviews, she's been out there with these tribes. She's got a great photo, I think, somewhere with six generations. The old lady's 120, her daughter's 90, and down it goes. And this old lady is not a curiosity who's been wheeled on in a wheelchair. She's still dancing with the tribe. And these people don't die young.
Yeah.
They didn't die young. It's quite possible as well, because in the carnivore community, we see bone density coming up so beautifully when they get on a carnivore diet that those bones that they think were 35 years old might have been 80 or 90, when they dig them up.
Yeah.
Also, there is, I think a lot of the data is skewed because the old thing is that it's an average age. They don't say everyone died at 30 or 40. They say that this is the average age of death. Well, if there was a high infant mortality rate, then you look at the averages, like there's a load of people who are 80 or 90 to make that
That's right.
average.
That's
So,
right.
but Mary kind of blows that up. I don't know where that came from actually, because Mary blows it up saying they're very easy births. There's not a high infant mortality rate. So where's it come from? No, I mean, people in those tribes, they die from falling out of trees, animal attacks, snake bites, infections. They don't die from our chronic diseases, and when they're old, they're imparting the wisdom around the fire, from the elders.
Yeah.
What happens in this society? People end up with what we know now as type 3 diabetes, where their brain doesn't work. They end up with Alzheimer's in these old folks' homes. And so they're not imparting the wisdom. They're getting fed, sugary cups of tea and cakes and jellies and pasta and God knows what. And then in our schools, I'm going to bring this part into it, but then in our schools, what do we have teaching our children? We have these bizarre sort of bondage gear dressed transsexuals telling us that, this book saying in my daddy's tummy, in my daddy's belly, is it something like that? That yes, men can get pregnant. And so all of this nonsense is happening to get rid of the ancient wisdom.
Yeah.
And even in our generation, our grandparents knew that meat and fat was fine.
Yeah.
And it kept them healthy into old age, even if they ate a few vegetables with it, because they didn't
Yeah.
have the glyphosate and things like that to really wreck their gut integrity. And but it's all gone crazy now. That old wisdom isn't being passed down. And I think I don't know. I think you've also been down a load of those rabbit holes. I think there's a whole load of very, very evil stuff now in the medical system, in the
Yeah.
diet world, in everything, which is a depopulation agenda. I'm very optimistic, and I think we're going to win. There's a load of great things out there where it's turning around and their lies are crumbling. But
Yeah.
if you're out there with any kind of horrific ailment, please see that the body has all the systems in place to heal that and reverse that. If you just take away all the factors that are causing it. And one of those factors is all the fear that we're given,
Yeah.
all of the fear mongering. If something's there saying, the problem reaction solution, that Hegelian dialect that they do now, if something's there where a huge problem comes up and then they create the solution, this is nonsense. That's how you can tell if anything's nonsense. And absolutely, I mean, the whole thing of farting and burping cows causing climate change. How
Oh
crazy
my
is that?
God.
How crazy
And
is
now
that?
they're giving some kind of medication to the cows and they're
Yeah.
dropping dead. Have you seen that?
Yes, yes. This Bovaer stuff. But
Yeah.
that's so obvious now with the cows dropping dead that they've had to pull some of this stuff. But then when you look at pull some of the trials of it, but when you look at it, that Bovaer stuff getting into the diet also causes uh, infertility in males, in the humans who eat the stuff. So again, it's more depopulation.
Yeah.
And if people think that we're being a little bit tinfoil hat here, look at what these guys are actually saying. They publish this stuff. That's what they
I
want to
know.
do. That's
Or
what they.
Bill Gates, the vaccine that will make you allergic to meat. And then they are spreading it. The ticks are spreading this disease now that makes you allergic to meat. And it's actually happening. Like I know people who are allergic to meat.
Yeah, yeah. This is the alpha gal syndrome. Yeah.
It's just absolutely crazy.
But then people get scared off red meat.
Yeah.
But you can actually get rid of that. If you just ease into it with chicken, fish, that kind of thing, in time, that does disappear and you can get back onto red meat. So anybody with this alpha gal thing who's been bitten by these Lone Star ticks, it's
Hmm.
not permanent. Don't
Oh,
be
that's good to
scared.
know.
It's not permanent. You can get
Yeah.
rid of it. But yeah, anything to scare us. It's
Yeah,
it's absolutely
absolutely.
ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah.
Phil, what happened to you in 22?
When it happened to me, I was kind of sure that of what had happened. I was playing with the band. We were doing a lot of festivals. It's kind of difficult on the road to get fatty beef and lamb. It's
Yeah.
one of the most difficult things to get. So I was eating more pork, chicken, dairy, and eggs, which is usually the failing of somebody on a carnivore diet. But I actually don't think, with my gut healed that much, that it would have caused such severe symptoms when the festival season ended and I got into the winter at that sort of time when natural detoxes happen, around the autumn equinox. But I just started to get really bad pains in the joints. They started to swell up. I mean, my left knee was like a football.
I remember.
It took it out. It really did. And I lost 45 pounds that I didn't need to lose. I was absolutely emaciated. There's some pictures of that. Detta took some pictures that I thought I'm never letting anyone see them. But having come back to health again, I used them in some of the talks, but I looked horrendous. Could hardly walk. Again, suicidal pain, probably worse than 2010. I don't think the diet was enough to do it. In that summer, I also had a kidney stone, and maybe it was something to do with the oxalate dumping because it can take decades, as Sally Norton said, to get rid of them. So that might have been a component. But I actually think now, looking back on it, because a lot of other, even unjabbed carnivores were saying they were getting a recurrence of autoimmune conditions around that time. And I don't know. I was playing a load of these gigs. I was playing in pubs as well with people who were jabbed. The shedding,
Yeah.
Fear, at that time, there was there was a load of stress that had happened over the past 2 years, even for people like you and me
Yeah.
who were lucky enough to know woken up people. I think in the collective consciousness, there was a lot of harm done, and maybe we didn't feel it at the time, but it mounted up. That was probably a part of it as well. I'd had some difficult times as well financially over that year, so there was a lot of worries about that. I mean, Lydia, my good friend, who I wish you could meet sometime because she's so lovely. She does the our English event that we do, Ancestral Health Festival, and helps out a lot with so many things. She's just become family. She even it becomes the driver and the drum roadie for the Daz band, driving us around the
Wow.
country and stuff. She's just absolutely lovely, proper family. But she was looking after me that winter when Detta was at work. I mean, she'd come and pick the kids up from school and go buy me food and things. She was amazing. But she really thought I was going to die. I was that bad and that skinny. But she said she really felt it was some kind of psychic attack as well.
Really?
I think a lot of people, there was some kind of attack, I think, on a lot of the people who were bringing out the agenda of the elites back then. And around that time, I think there was a lot of sort of weird, energetic kind of even maybe entity attachment. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll never quite know, but you know, touch wood, it's not going to happen again. But yeah, it was absolutely horrific. But the thing was, coming out of it, it took me about 3 years to come out of it in 2010, really. But this time it took about 3 months. But I had
Mhm.
no doubts whatsoever about the diet. Something had happened that had made the gut that leaky. All the factors, I don't quite know what. But even a ribeye steak would cause me agony. I couldn't eat any protein. All I was having for a while was just bone broth with a load of sort of fatty bits floating in it. I couldn't even take any protein
Wow.
because that can also get through a leaky gut, even though it doesn't cause leaky gut. It still can.
Yeah.
That's why Zophia's PKD, the Paleolithic ketogenic diet that they prescribe at Paleomedicina, is so high in fat and lower in protein because it can cause issues, even the good proteins.
Yeah.
So I couldn't take that at all, and it was yeah, it was absolute nightmare. But I had no doubts. It wasn't like, oh, should I add a sweet potato to put some weight on? This is
Yeah.
the thing. When you get that sick, sometimes you can lose a load of weight because the body is shedding an awful lot of toxins and you can lose a load of weight and it can be alarming. And then people go, oh my God, I've got cancer or something. I mean, I took my blood results to the local doc. Well, Detta took the bloods and took it down there. I couldn't even move. I couldn't even get down to the docs, but I wanted to send them to Shafir to see, get a proper intelligent reading. But they just said, yeah, you probably got cancer, and this and that. And I'm saying, well, even if I have, I'm not taking anything that you tell me to do. I'll just carry on. But I'm pretty sure I haven't got it. Even if I have, no problem. What I'm doing is going to get me out of it. And sent it to Shafir, said, yeah, you might do, but probably not. And it's just horrible inflammation. But the confidence to really stick to that high levels of fat and that carnivore diet never shifted because I know that when the gut heals, the weight comes back on again. And I think that's another time that people turn back from that beautiful healing path is when they get too skinny and people start to say, you're too skinny, you need to add some carbs back in. And that then scuppers the whole healing process.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first time I remember being in a changing room, when you get the two mirrors.
Yeah.
I was buying some clothes because all my old ones were falling off me because I was so skinny. And I took my top off and I saw myself and I thought, oh my God, that's too skinny. And I felt really awful about it. And I was really tempted to add in sweet potatoes, this and that, got to
Yeah.
put weight on. But the fear of the pain coming back was more than being skinny. And then the inflammation went and I was, 9 stone, still about 120 pounds, real skinny, but dragging my drums around, doing long gigs, everything was fine. And I just had faith
Yeah.
that the weight will come back on when the absorption comes up because it's not about what you eat, it's about the absorption.
Yeah.
And then, yep, about a year later, the scales started creeping up and they went up and everything was fine. And the same thing happened this time, but quicker because I was more strict. So, anyone out there, please, please, suffering with that kind of pain, there's a way out. Be confident through the stage where there might be some pain after you get on it. And if you do lose a load of weight, honestly, you're eating the most nutritious food in the world. As long as you just lose a load of fat and hang on to most of the muscle mass, which you probably will, you'll be absolutely fine. It'll all come good in the end. Just have that confidence. Have that confidence.
Thank God you came out of this okay. I mean, that must have been very scary for you, Phil.
Yeah, it was not so much scary as horrific. I knew I'd find a way out of it, but the
Yeah.
pain was absolutely suicidal sometimes, and it kind of lost me a left knee this time. It doesn't quite
Ah,
straighten, doesn't bend beyond 90 degrees, but hey, it's a small price to pay for coming out of it. If I'd have gone on meds then, I'd probably be dead now, I think.
wow.
Yeah. I
That's
don't
really crazy. Phil, why do you think autoimmune diseases affect women more than men?
it's an interesting question. I really don't know. I think there are a load of things about women that are more complex. We're very simple, basic creatures. And you are far more complicated hormonally and all sorts. It's like when you see a couple go carnivore and the guy ends up ripped.
Yeah,
And
he loses like 100 pounds in 2 days and the woman starts gaining weight in the beginning, right?
I know, and it's just you've just got to be you've just got to be patient with it. But I think the autoimmune conditions, I don't know. I honestly don't really know why that happens. But the fix is the same.
Yeah.
But just please be patient, and particularly anyone out there who's going into carnivore for weight loss, and you're a woman and you get those sticking points. My number one tip is get rid of the dairy.
Mhm.
Completely get rid of the dairy. That can often push people through those sticking points.
Drinking my cappuccino.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, if you can take it, enjoy, again.
Yeah. But no, I agree. It's a huge trigger point for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
Jofi always talks about this, about the day,
Oh God.
right?
When we did the first carnival conference and Detta had Graves' disease, right?
Yes.
And Sophia was at your villa there, and we were all staying together. And Sophia came in and saw Detta eating a bit of chocolate. And she said, "Not even a molecule of dairy when you're healing, nothing whatsoever. No ghee, no. Yes, that's still dairy. No, but oh, but what about this? What about kefir? What about no, no, none of it, because it's got the growth factors in that
Yeah.
create unusual cell replication." So, people get really cross with me for agreeing with your fear that raw milk might even be worse than pasteurized because you don't have the initial reaction, but down the line, those growth factors are more intact. And so it could lead to unusual cell replication, which is great. Fast cell replication, growing a small animal into a large animal, beautiful. That's what it's intended for. But again, refer it back to nature. No animal eats dairy after weaning. And, if I could live on cheese, I would.
I would
I
too.
I would eat it dawn till dusk every single day. It's so addictive. It's so delicious, but no, I'm much better off without it.
So do you not eat any dairy at all?
It's my junk food. Now I've healed again,
Mhm.
every now and again, I'll think, oh, so what? I'll melt a bit of cheese on some burger patties that I made or something.
So walk
But
us through your day. What do you eat in a
that's
day?
it. Oh, beef and lamb.
That's it.
Basically, that's it.
Breakfast, lunch, dinner?
100% of the time, I don't have a concept of breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Hmm.
Three times a day eating, I think, is in the realms of carb people.
Yeah,
I,
I
I can't
agree.
I can't imagine eating 3 times a day. I
Yeah.
usually eat once one day and then twice the next day. So like 3 times every 2 days. So I'll eat
Hmm.
maybe 10 in the morning and 4 or 5 in the afternoon.
Hmm.
And then I'm not hungry the next day till about 2 o'clock, and then it's too late for me to eat by the time I'm hungry again. So I leave it till the next morning. That's
Yeah.
kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
Um, if I train, I might eat twice a day every day. But yeah, it's just fatty beef and lamb, really. Every now and
Makes
again,
sense.
I'll have a bit of pork, but it's not great for autoimmunity. My son Peter eats a lot of it, but he's young and he's healthy and his gut integrity is good and no problem.
How do you cook the meat?
Anyway, really, I have, grill or fry some lamb chops or put a steak in the air fryer or do some slow cooked beef ribs or something like that and add a load more fat. Always have tallow on hand.
Hmm.
That's the secret, so that you're not tempted to smother everything in butter because that's so easy, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
if you render down your own tallow, then you can add it and get the right fat ratios, and you will be much better off than having butter. It was for the first 4 years of carnivore. I ate pretty much meat and butter and some cheese. And I thought I was okay. I wasn't having any joint issues so much. But when Detta had the Graves and was told by Sophia to give up all the dairy, she said, "Yeah, giving up the plants is no problem, but giving up dairy
Hmm.
is going to be
Yeah.
hard." So I said, "Well, I'll do it with you."
Hmm.
And I was amazed that not long into it, a week or so later, All the sinus issues cleared up that I was having that
Mm.
I thought was just like, central heating and dry air. That all cleared up. And then not long after, my abs popped out again. It was like, I haven't changed any sort of calories. Not the calories actually exist if you listen to Bart K.
Yeah, yeah,
But, but eating the same amount. And yet that the inflammation caused by the dairy that was kind of subtle was making me hang on to weight. Not much, but a
hmm,
little bit.
yeah.
And I was amazed how much better I felt without it. So now I'm okay. Yeah, I'll have it once in a blue moon, but not in a healing phase. Don't do it.
And do you get bored with eating the same thing every day?
No.
No.
I did a video on that. Is it boring eating meat every day? And I think that was
Mhm.
6 years ago. No, I'm still
Yeah,
doing it. But what's boring is sitting on a sofa, not being able to move and not being able to do anything you love, not being able to pick up a drumstick to go and play a gig. That's boring. If you have
yeah,
to eventually have your tastes get more subtle, so that, the difference between a beef day and a lamb day, or if you want to add a little bit of fish, or you get that kind of craving, not I want to go and pig out a Pizza Hut for the all you can eat lunch menu, right?
yeah, I
Or I
agree.
want some ice cream or something like that.
Yeah.
So take your entertainment outside the kitchen. Eat to live, don't live to eat. And that takes a while to let the those cravings or those actual addictions to die down, because most of the food we eat now is not food, it's recreational drugs.
Yeah.
Those processed foods which are basically grains and seed oils, that combination of fats and carbs which never happens in nature. Really, a little bit in nuts in the autumn, in breast milk as well, but it never really happens in nature. Anything that contains carbohydrates, like fruit and berries, which we have now and again, has no fat.
Mhm.
Anything that has fat, like fatty meat, it'll have some protein with it and never has any carbohydrates. If you mix the two, it ruins your leptin signaling so that you never know when you're full. And you just carry on eating this crap until, everything blows up. Because if you have a real fatty steak, you know exactly when you're full, right? Tastes delicious. In nature, fatty meat is the most delicious thing. However, there are more delicious things that these scientists in labs and addiction specialists who advise the food companies in how to create that bliss point, like Pringles crisps, isn't it? Cancer in a can. Once you pop, you
Yeah.
can't stop. And it's true in the advert. So if you eat a steak, there's a point where you've had enough. You've
Yeah.
had enough, you're
You
done.
can't have another bite. You
Yeah.
really can't. Yeah.
But then again, if somebody brings on a wheelbarrow full of Haagen-Dazs, oh yes, you've got room for that.
Yeah, there's a different compartment for that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the addiction. And so
Yeah.
you've got to get rid of the actual addiction to these recreational drugs, which are most of the foods that we eat. So
That's
yeah,
so interesting what you said, Phil, because all these decades in the industry, I never actually thought of it like what you just said, that this fat and carbohydrate mixture does not exist in nature. And this is so true.
yeah,
I
yeah.
never thought of it that way because, yeah, you have berries or fruit, vegetables, whatever, they don't come with fat.
Mm,
And then the fatty meats and everything, it doesn't come with carbs. So, and here
yeah,
we are mixing the two, and it's a disaster for humans. And no wonder everyone's sick and getting cancer and autoimmune disease. Even the children are sick. I mean,
totally, totally. I mean, you think of every addictive food, chips, crisps,
yeah,
pizza, chocolate, ice cream, pizza, all of these things are a mixture of fats and carbs. And so
yeah,
those are the things that once we're addicted to them, we crave them like crazy. And it does take a while to break those addictions. I find that people come to me for a consult and they'll say, "Oh my God, I'm going to miss this food. I don't know how I'm going to do without that. I say, look, just give it 30 days.
hmm,
Anyone can do it for 30 days pretty much. Just and then
yeah,
you can come back to it. Yeah, yeah, you can come back. After 30 days, they go, well, actually, I'm still craving them a bit, but the cravings have gone down a lot and the benefits are amazing.
yeah,
And then you say, okay, now stretch it to 90 days. And the 90 days is a really kind of magical time for healing, I think, for seeing where you're going with the healing. And
yeah,
then after 90 days, they're like, do you know what? I've hardly got any cravings. And I feel so good, I'm not going back. If you can make
yeah,
it to that kind of 90-day challenge,
yeah,
then you realize that it's going to go. Most of the problems come in the first 30 days.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's really great advice. That's what I tell people too. Like, give me 30 days with this and you'll see it'll change your life completely.
Yeah.
So, Phil, you do work with people one on one. So, if somebody's watching this and they suffer from arthritis, you're able to help them, counsel them online, right? They can reach you from anywhere in the world.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, just philescott.com and you can, see everything from there or join my Substack for the weekly calls that I do, the support calls there or my course, the
And you
online
also have a
course.
book about arthritis.
Yes, that one. I did 10 years ago or so. I wrote that now. It's crazy, maybe even a bit
Wow.
more. And I hadn't even gone fully carnivore at the time, but
Mhm.
it's yeah, it's the first third of it is my battles with the medical system, which I think, I write it kind of light-hearted. I can, I never really grew up, so I write a load of nonsense in there as well. It's just, but those battles with the medical system, they are heartbreaking, but they are kind of comical.
Yeah.
I think anybody who's going through that at the moment will identify. And then the second third of it is discovering really how to eat and getting rid of all those, all the brainwashing that I'd had for decades and eventually reversing it. But then the last third of it is more the kind of woo-woo stuff, the other stuff that is really the interesting stuff. Because when I do a consult, I the first part of it really is to get the diet sorted
Mhm.
because all powerful as everything else is, all the other factors, grounding, getting proper sunlight, getting your circadian rhythm sorted, so getting blue light out of your face at night, getting the EMFs off, turning your Wi-Fi, all these things are very important. But if somebody comes with screaming rheumatoid arthritis, really, I'm sorry, Jack, Uncle Jack Cruz, but changing your bulbs for red at that point and getting a bit of sun isn't going to do much, right? But really getting the gut healed is going to be miraculous. So get that in place first, and then let's look at all the other stuff, which is very important. If
Yeah.
however good the food is that you're eating, if you're not sleeping well, you're not doing the healing.
Yeah.
If you're in a horrific relationship or a job that you hate and there's total stress, or you're working nights or something like that, there are so many other things to unlock, whether it's on the emotional or the spiritual level, and then the journey becomes interesting.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, we're all different." Some people heal on veganism, some people not really. Some people do get rid of symptoms because veganism is basically a fast, but in time they get lots of deficiencies, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they say we're all different. No, we're not. If we had a different ideal diet, we would be the only species in nature that was true for.
Yeah.
There's not a lion anywhere that goes, do you know what? I'm not having any of that antelope. I'm going to have a quinoa salad.
Yeah. That is
There's
true.
none. They
Yeah.
know how they're supposed to eat, and we are
Yeah.
facultative carnivores.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, yes, our journeys, our healing journeys are very different because, depending on how old we are, how long we've been eating rubbish, what our other stresses are, how long we've been taking medication, all of those things will create a different healing journey for people. But I think I've made all the mistakes in the book and probably seen all the different problems with people's healing journeys. So I think I have a unique take on it. So yeah, if you want to chat, please come to me, or come to these beautiful events that we organize, have a look at my online course, and just have confidence that, you know, referring things through the ancestral lens is really one of the ways to expose the bullshit in diet. Because people say to me, well, there's this diet guru says that, there's this one says that. And it's so confusing when you're Googling for
Yeah.
the first
Which is
time.
true. Yeah.
And I think the best way is to just say, right, what do humans eat in the wild? That's what we do with any other animal. What do
Exactly.
they eat in the wild? What are the stresses that we have that they don't have? I think it was a guy called Anthony Fazey. He was on Anthony Chaffee's channel. He made up this great game of like, name an animal in the wild that eats the rainbow with every meal,
Hmm.
goes for a jog,
Yeah.
juices their food, has a multi-ingredient meal,
It's
wears
true.
shoes,
Yeah.
wears sunscreen. If you
No,
look
it's good. That's really good.
if you look at it through that kind of lens, then you can look at somebody who's saying, yeah, well, it's great to have loads of fiber and juice your food. No, just stop it. We didn't do that. We never did, and we were fine. And now we're not. And so whoever's preaching stuff like that, like these vegan docs, like Dr. Greger and these
Yeah.
kind of people, they're obviously talking crap and they should be silenced.
On that note, Phil, thank you so much for being here and for this wonderful chat. I'll make sure to link everything below so people can find you easily and reach out to you and follow you also on social media to follow your podcast and everything else. So make sure you send me the links to link.
I will. And
Thank you guys so much for watching. And
thank
thank you
you for
again,
having me
Phil.
on as well. And thank you
Thank
so
you. It was
much.
amazing. Thank you. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care, everyone.